Okay guys, today we're going to be doing something a little different. I decided that I would make a video about the Minelab 6-inch coil. I've seen people saying they didn't know whether they needed to purchase this coil or not. And so hopefully I can help you make that decision with some of the things that I found in using this coil over the last few hunts. Of course, I've had this coil now for probably over a year and I have used it sparingly. And part of the reason why is that I've got 3 other machines as well. So I sort of go back and forth, but I'm going to walk you through when I think is the best possible scenario to use this coil and why I think this coil is a good coil. But there's pros and cons to it as well, and I want you to be aware of that. So I'm going to walk you through this coil, and maybe hopefully you can make a good decision on whether this coil is the coil for you and whether you should purchase one. And a lot of it's going to be based really on site location and the site. That's really what's going to determine whether you need this coil or not. So pay attention, watch the video, and hopefully you'll get some of the information that you've been looking for. Let's talk about when is the best situations to use the 6-inch coil. So let's look at that real carefully. And I'm going to tell you some of my situations that I've used it in, and sort of give you some ideas about what I think are the best situations for this 6-inch coil. Of course, the first one is small areas. If you're covering a small area, that's always a good time to possibly pull this 6-inch out, especially if you're not looking for really deep targets. And some of those targets are maybe 4, 5, 6 inches down, and you're noticing that some of those ones that you're digging are actually not that deep. So a small area is definitely a good place to use the 6-inch. Another place is with modern trash. So these areas that have a lot of modern trash, and of course a small area again as well, you can finagle the 6-inch and get in between some targets to help you sort of squeak those things out. So in modern trash situations, the 6-inch does really well, and you can really get in between those targets if you've got a modern trash area that you're hunting. Third area is a heavily infested iron relic spot, and of course this is where I have probably used the 6-inch the most, is when I get in an iron area that is just loaded with iron. It's machine gun iron, just pop, 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 pop the whole time. And so with the 6-inch, you can again get in between some of those bigger pieces of iron or nails or whatever it may be, and you can finagle until you can wiggle a target out of there. Now, one thing that I have been trying lately is I have been bumping the recovery up. I'm using Park 1 usually. Sometimes I'll use Park 2, just depends on the situation. But I'll bump the recovery speed up and increase the sensitivity, and it tends to help. I don't dig as much big iron whenever I do it that way. But on these sites that's just loaded with iron, you can really sneak a target out using the 6-inch. So again, a spot that's loaded with iron, that's a small area, maybe an old house. We hunt a lot of the slave cabins around all the old rice plantations, and of course there's tons and tons of nails and tons of iron. So when you start doing that and using this coil, it can really be beneficial. So I would strongly suggest using it on those particular types of sites. The next scenario would be when you just want to go behind another machine looking for smaller targets. Maybe you've hunted an area, and again, a small area, and you feel like you've cleaned it out as much as you could with a bigger coil, and then you want to go back, and maybe if you got opportunity to go back, just go over it with the 6-inch and see if you can pull out a smaller target. So again, that's a great situation too to use the 6-inch. The other times that you might want to use it would be when you want to cherry pick a site. And I've had a lot of discussions with Calabash Digger, for those of you that know who he is. And one of the things that we have talked a lot about was, do you really want to dig a lot of targets, non-ferrous targets? And of course, he uses the DAS. I use the DAS too. And the other day we were on a site and he pulled out the DAS and I pulled out the Equinox with the 6-inch coil. Now he dug a ton more targets than I did, but the targets that I dug were, targets that really could have been something, whereas some of the targets he was digging was smaller pieces of aluminum or trash or that type of stuff. And so he had a lot more as far as what he dug, but I guess I could say, had maybe a little better quality of the things that I dug, but I didn't dig that much. So, it's a time effort thing. If you're really not going back to a site and you're limited on time and it's a small site that's loaded with iron, then maybe the 6-inch is the way to go if you're really trying to pick out the really good targets. Because one thing I can say about the Equinox is that when it gets over a target, it really locks on really well, especially a coin. It's really good on coins. So again, if you're looking to cherry pick, the 6-inch coil, not a bad way to go if you're on one of those particular types of sites. The other time that the 6-inch really shines is in very tight spaces. Maybe you're in the woods, that big coil, you can't swing through some of the brush. Maybe you're getting around trees and shrub trees and those types of things. The 6-inch does very well in that situation as well. So again, these are the situations that I would use the 6-inch coil. And if you're in these types of situations, or you think you're going to be in these types of situations, then maybe you need to think about the 6-inch coil. Again, my soil is mild, so depth is pretty good with the 6-inch actually, because I'm dealing with sand, basically a very mild soil, so you can get, and everybody's different, but I have dug something at least 8 to 9 inches down using the 6-inch. Some people may get more, some people may get less. It really all depends on where you're actually hunting. So again, take that with a grain of salt. Again, your observations may be a lot different from mine. So I'm just letting you know this is what I've seen so far, and these are the situations that I think the 6-inch coil would shine. Now, when not to use, and this is very simple. When you have a large area to cover. I made the mistake a couple of weeks ago pulling the 6-inch out. We were on a colonial site, and I decided that this site, because they had just recently plowed it and planted pine trees, so it was really hard to maneuver with a standard size coil, whether it be the DAS or whether it be the Equinox. And so I decided that I was going to use the 6-inch, but this was a bigger field. And again, not a small area. I swung 10 times more than the people I was hunting with. And so, 6-inch definitely wasn't a good situation for that particular site. So when you have a large area to cover, just, you're better off going with the larger coil if you have one, and that's pretty much it. That's when you should not use the 6-inch coil. So real simple. What are some of the cons? I mean, we've talked about a lot of the positives, but there are some negatives to this. Again, probably the one that it really shines out the most is going to be, when you're using the 6-inch, you don't get nearly the depth that you would get with the 11-inch or with the 15-inch. So you are losing some depth by using the 6-inch coil. Most of my targets are generally 4 to 6 inches. So, the 6-inch can do that. I mean, I don't think it can, I don't think it's going to struggle with any of that at all. So again, you will have some loss of depth, but depends on your site, depends on where you're looking at. If you've got highly mineralized soil, or you've got an area that a lot of the targets have been really deep, then It's 6 inches is probably not going to be the way to go. The other thing, of course, like I've been mentioning, you can't cover a lot of area with a 6-inch coil. You can really hone in on a target, but you can't cover a lot of area. And, you know, you definitely want a bigger coil when you're hunting a larger area. So, again, can't cover a lot of area with the 6-inch. The other con to this coil is you've really got to put it dead over the target. This coil puts out a small footprint, and because of that small footprint, you're really not going to hit those targets unless you're dead over them. It doesn't put down a big signal. So again, small footprint, you got to have the coil over it. Sometimes you can swing this coil one way and not hit the target, and sometimes you can swing it the other way and you will hit the target. And that's simply because of the size of the coil. So that is my analysis of the 6-inch coil. For what it's worth, again, you may have different opinions or different observations if you already have used this 6-inch coil. If you're on the fence or you're thinking about buying it, see if your sites that you are going to meet these criteria. If not, then maybe the 6-inch coil is not for you. But if these areas do meet your criteria, you hunt a lot of areas that are like this, then picking up the 6-inch coil is probably not a bad idea. Okay? Again, please hit that subscribe button, hit the like button if you like it. Again, all of this is just speculation. I'm not paid by Minelab. I'm not paid by anybody. These are just my views and my opinions as far as what I've seen out of the 6-inch coil. So hopefully you guys have been able to get out and you've had a great weekend of hunting. And I hope this helps somebody. If you're thinking about buying one of these, or if you already have one of these, then maybe you can reevaluate and decide, when you should use it. So with that being said, take care, guys. Happy hunting to everyone, and we will catch you on the next video.